What's good, YouTube, man? This your boy, Nate the Great, and I'm back with another reaction video, man. Today, we finna watch some, cause you feel me, it's playoff time, nigga. Gotta lock in, my nigga. It's playoff time. So, we finna see everything you need to know before Lakers versus Wolves. And shout out who this is, who channel this is, Hoop Venue. Shout out them, man. Y'all go subscribe, watch their original video. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what we need to know before the Lakers versus Wolves. I feel like we finna whoop their ass. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it a bad. So let's see.
The playoffs are officially here. And with the way the bracket turned out, I think we're in for a ridiculous 2 months of basketball. Of the confirmed matchups, I think the most interesting one to dive into is the Lakers and the Timberwolves, and that's because it probably has the biggest clash in styles. On one hand, the Lakers are an undersized team with ridiculous offensive talent and arguably the best collection of playmakers in the league. And on the other, the Wolves are a huge team with ridiculous defensive talent and a very flawed collection of passers and decision makers. Both teams have their own set of advantages and disadvantages, but what exactly can we expect to see in this series?
Like, I ain't gonna lie. What's y'all predictions, bro? Put them in the chat. I say 4 Lakers, 3. I'm gonna say 4. I'm gonna say 4-2. Fuck it. Man, we got Luca on our team, man. I say 4-2, bro. 4-2, bro.
Part of what makes this matchup so interesting to project is that we haven't actually seen these rosters go up against each other. They played 4 times this year, and only one of those games came after the trade for Luka Doncic. In that game, the Wolves were without both Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert, so it's pretty tough to gauge how exactly LA plans to adjust to that big front court. However, while the result may not tell us much, I do think we saw a few things from each team schematically that will probably show up again in the playoffs. The first thing that stood out to me was that the Wolves opened the game with Jaden McDaniels matched up against Jackson Hayes. If you remember last year's NBA Finals, Boston opened the series with Jason Tatum on Daniel Gafford, then they switched every ball screen, which completely took the Mavs bigs out of the game. In that series, Gafford and Lively combined for 6 total alley-oops. Now compare that to the Western Conference Finals against Minnesota, where the Wolves played the pick and roll straight up, with Gobert either trapping, hedging, or dropping, and those 2 bigs combined for 14 total alley-oops, or almost 3 a game. I think the Wolves could look to do something similar to the Celtics. With Jaden on Hayes, that puts him in a position to switch every ball screen, eliminating Hayes as a threat on the roll and forcing the ball handler to beat a tough defender one-on-one. If that's the case, that means Gobert will be matched up with whoever LA goes with at the 4, which will end up being either one of Dorian Finney-Smith or Rui Hachimura.
Bro,
those guys spend most of their time spotting up in the corner.
What Rui been? Has Rui been playing? Or am I tripping? I don't know.
So it puts Rudy in a position to operate like a free safety. It's a tough spot though, because both of them have shot extremely well from 3 this season, so it's not like Rudy's gonna be able to freely roam, wall off the paint, and not close out. But I do think a key point of emphasis and a path to victory for the Lakers is for those 2 to hit most of their open threes and make the Wolves pay for overhelping. Either way, I do think the Wolves will be forced to execute their rotations to near perfection. In the event that Gobert's forced to help, they'll have to scramble to not give up catch and shoot threes, then forcing LA's wings to play off the catch and make tough decisions, as opposed to letting Luka or LeBron dictate every possession. With that said though, if they aren't hitting their threes, or maybe Rudy's staying home on every attack, or maybe even they find a way to rotate effectively and close that space, I do think it puts LA's offense in a position to make one of 3 adjustments. The first is to take whoever Rudy's defending and use them as the screener so that they can pull him into the primary action. And if that's the—
Damn, bro, this nigga, like, he studied the game, what? Get your Harry Potter looking at that nigga, that boy, he's studying the game. Like, he's telling like exactly what they should do. Is he right? Who knows? Y'all think he right? Let me know. I don't know.
Case, I'd expect Rudy to play his signature drop, but prioritize the ball over the roll. Going back to that conference final series, the main reason the drop got absolutely torched is because he was forced to play the 2-on-1 at all times, and Luka basically baited him into either dropping to the big or stepping up to the ball. That doesn't really work if the roller isn't a threat to get above the rim, so Rudy would be able to play up on Luka a bit more, taking away that in-between space. In order to attack Rudy in ball screen action, I think one of two things would have to be working. One is, of course, Luka's pull-up three. If he's shooting like he was in that series, there really isn't much you can do to stop him from absolutely torching you.
He be torched, I'm telling you, bro. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. In my I said opinion. Fuck. In my opinion, bro, like no cap, bro. In my opinion, I feel like Luka is like the best player in the NBA, bro. I feel like if he just got in the gym, got right, got muscular, and was fit, bro, it would be without a doubt that Luka is the best player in the NBA. Like, he don't even have to be a dunker. That nigga is a bucket. Like, he gets buckets, bro. He don't got no defense, yes, but that nigga's still tough, bro.
If Rudy's sitting back and playing the ball, those guys popping effectively could really punish that added space. The only problem with pulling Rudy into screening action in these lineups, though, is that Hayes isn't a floor spacer, so the Wolves could adjust by either pre-switching to keep Rudy near the basket, or by having him step out to the shooter, knowing that Jaden is still one of the best rim-protecting wings in the NBA. For that reason, I'd expect the Lakers to counter by going to one of their smaller lineups. Now, instead of a non-spacer at the 5, you've got both Rui and DFS in either corner, which is when I think the Wolves would go back to some more traditional matchups with Jaden guarding Luka, but 5-out spacing with that much playmaking talent would be a nightmare to contain, and again, they'd probably be relying on really good shooters going cold. Of course, I should also mention that this is complete speculation, and there's a chance I'm completely off base. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Jaden starts the series on Luka, they go with Gobert on Hayes, and Luka goes right back to running spread pick and roll over and over again, and then we see a repeat of last year's conference finals. I just think the Wolves are going to try throwing a curveball to open the series to make the Lakers adjust early. Either way, I haven't even...
One thing I have noticed, bro, this nigga ain't said nothing about LeBron. Like, you forgot LeBron on the team, nigga? Nigga, LeBron on the team too now. Let's not forget.
Gotten into LA's biggest offensive advantage, which is the question marks that surround Mike Conley. In their last matchup, they relentlessly hunted for Conley as he's just simply way too small to handle either Luka or LeBron, and that's the huge difference between their defense and last year's Celtics. Boston didn't have anyone who was a complete liability against big creators, so they could get away with switching every action. If Conley's consistently being switched onto the ball, now those guys don't even have to create dribble penetration to get an advantage. They can post up and force the Wolves to either send a double or rotate behind the play, which once again puts them into a scramble. If Randall or Gobert can't keep up with rotations, they can go to a smaller lineup of their own with Naz Reid at the 5, but now they're losing a ton of the advantages that come with the added size, creating a ton of tough decisions for the coaching staff to make. In my opinion, the biggest concern for Minnesota in this series is choosing which lineups they start and close games with. There's a really good chance that Conley becomes unplayable against a lot of LA's lineups because he's just being torched one-on-one. They can go to DiVincenzo for a bit more size, or to Alexander Walker if they want another high-level defender on the court, and I do think that would help a lot, but then they'd be sacrificing offense because they rely on Conley to be their best decision maker and extra passer. Speaking of which, the Lakers have a very set-in-stone defensive scheme that they've used in basically every game since Luka's arrival. Whether Hayes is in the game or they're going small, they're going to switch most actions to always keep a body in front of the ball. Then they're going to push the ball baseline to take away the middle of the floor, and from there, a help defender is going to step over from the weak side to load up early. The idea is to limit dribble penetration by always forcing the ball into immediate help, and they're able to do this better than most teams because their superpower as a defense is the speed with which they rotate. However, I do think the Wolves have a few things working in their favor.
Hey, man. Shout out, bro. Shout out JJ Redick, bro. No cap, bro. Shout out JJ Redick, gang. That nigga, bro. He did a wonderful job, bro. The defense has got a lot better, even with Luka on our team. Now we gotta see what it's gonna look like in the playoffs, cause we know Luka gonna go off. We just gotta hope LeBron don't get injured, bro. If LeBron don't get injured, bro, we might be straight, bro.
I'd say it's getting somewhat overlooked how much of a size advantage they have and the types of advantages that can lead to on the offensive glass. If LA is playing this aggressive style of defense, that's one less guy who's in a position to box out, and the Wolves have shown the ability to completely control the offensive glass.
Ooh,
a big key in the path to victory for Minnesota is winning the possession game, which would start with winning the rebounding battle for all 48 minutes. Another potential key to victory has to do with the fact that Anthony Edwards has become one of the best pull-up three-point shooters in NBA history. Regardless of how you load up in the paint, if he can get to 9 or 10 threes at a 40% clip, there really isn't much you can do but trap to get the ball out of his hands completely. As the season's progressed, he's gotten more and more comfortable passing out of those situations, and I do think letting a guy like Randall attack with a 4-on-3 advantage is extremely dangerous without a true anchor big to hold down the paint. Something else that I'd say is working in the Wolves' favor is that
Minnesota low-key got a good-ass team, bro. They got Naz Reid, A.E., DiVincenzo, Alexander Walker. They got McDaniels. They got Gobert. They got Julius Randle. Like, dude, oh my God.
That they have the roster flexibility to put out lineups with 5 high-level shooters. If they aren't getting stops, they might try to match LA's offensive firepower with a lineup of straight gunners, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they won the shooting battle. That defensive scheme relies on abandoning non-shooters to overplay the ball, but if the ball's always finding a 40% shooter, they're gonna put a lot of points on the board. I actually think this series is going to be a very high-scoring one for that reason. I don't think the Wolves have the facilities to consistently slow down LA's offense without giving up something of value. It's like whack-a-mole. You scheme for one thing and another pops up. You scheme for that, then another pops up. And by the end of the game, the Lakers have scored 120 points. One of Minnesota's superpowers as a team, though, is the amount of different lineups they can go to. If they go Randall at the 5 with 4 shooters, now they're in a position to hunt for Austin Reeves in the same way the Lakers want to hunt for Conley. If Randall has Reeves on a switch and there's nobody to help off of, that's a really tough spot to be in. For all of his prior playoff shortcomings, I do think he's such a big mismatch and such a skilled passer that LA's gonna have their hands full, even in minutes with Edwards on the bench. On the other side of things, I don't think LA has the same type of lineup flexibility. For example, this is a series where it's probably tough to get Vanderbilt on the floor because the Wolves would then counter by just having Gobert camp in the paint. They also don't have the depth to go big in the front court, so they're confined to minutes of either Rui or Hayes at the 5. But what they lack in lineup flexibility, they arguably make up for in schematic flexibility. As a sort of counter or maybe just a curveball, it wouldn't surprise me if we see a lot of zone from the Lakers in this series. They've experimented a bit with a 3-2 zone in certain matchups, and I do think Minnesota's biggest weakness is their extra passing and decision making, which really showed up in the 4th quarter of that recent game against Milwaukee when they saw the 2-3 zone. And ultimately, that's where my final prediction lies.
This nigga really do pay attention to this shit though. Like, that's crazy, bro. Like, I wonder how long it takes to like just do a video like this. Like, or do you just watch every game like to where you just know? I don't know.
I think in many ways this series could end up being a repeat of
But I
last
ain't gonna
year's
lie, bro.
conference.
This new he a hard worker, bro. This is the stuff he's saying, bro. Like I don't know if he reading it off of I don't know.
Finals, even if the process behind getting to that result is completely different. What I mean by that is it's easy to forget because the Mavs won in 5, but the Wolves were either leading or tied after 3 quarters in all of the first 4 games, only for Dallas to completely blitz them in fourth quarters with surgical late game execution. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this is the exact same thing, with the Wolves controlling the possession game, hitting their threes, and making the Lakers play one-on-one. There's a very good chance that they end up winning the point differential in this series through 3 quarters. But between the lack of passing and decision-making and over-reliance on Ant to hit really tough shots, I just don't trust their late-game offense in the same way I trust an offense that's spearheaded by 2 of the smartest players the game has ever seen. I think this is a winnable series for Minnesota, and from what I've seen, they aren't getting nearly enough credit for the advantages that they do have. But for that reason, if I had to put in an official prediction, I'd go with the Lakers in 6 or 7 tight games, ultimately advancing to the second round. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth
yeah, man, that's the video right there. Like he said, it's either gonna be 6 or 7. I think it's gonna be Lakers though. It's gonna be a close little. I don't know though. I gotta see how the Lakers play. It really depends on how LeBron show up, bro. We know Luka gonna show up, bro. Everybody know Luka gonna show up. LeBron gotta show up too every game. I don't care if you're 40 years old, nigga. Go out there and get you another ring, my nigga. Fuck it. But alright, man, I'm gonna catch y'all in this video. Like, comment, subscribe. And I'll see y'all soon, man. I'm out.